Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, February 21st, 2025. You know what that means, friends. It's time for me to answer all of your burning questions live. We're going to be talking about this week's cannabis policy and science news. You're going to tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and you're going to ask me your questions, and I'm going to try my best to answer those. So let's get down to it. Let's see who's watching. Hello, doctor. You're on a different planet? All right. Hey, Chris. Howdy. Glad you're here. Hey, Woodyard. Welcome back. Hey, Jeff on Instagram. Hey, Castle in California, also on Instagram. You still can't speak freely on Instagram, says Jeff. Does that mean, do you mean like with the content that you post? Are you having issues with that? Hey, Lori in Ohio. Hey, Sword in Wisconsin. Sword says Wisconsin needs to be legalized. When? When is a great question. In Wisconsin, you have an issue with the people that you keep electing to represent you there. I mean, not necessarily you personally, but look, it's really difficult in states that don't have a ballot initiative process, where you have to advance legalization through your legislative process. It's really difficult to get a bill to the governor's desk so they can sign it when you have a legislature that does not support that effort. And that's what you're seeing in a lot of states. Wisconsin is a great example. Let's see what's going on here. Thanks, Jeff, for giving me a little bit more information. Hey, Peaches in California. Oh, that's wild. Jeff says, in a post that noted that Mark Fogel was coming home, I tagged NORML on it, congratulating the efforts. And Jeff goes on to say, Instagram shut it down and silenced me for 4 days. Wow, that's wild. That's wild. Huh. Sword, what do you mean, why not? Why not? Why not what? Hello, Smell from Pittsburgh. All right. Let's see who's on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. Hey, Daniel. Oops, sorry. Daniel's in Virginia. Daniel says, nothing is going to happen with Youngkin, that's the governor of Virginia, as much as I want it to happen and how much it actually needs to happen. It's hard to tell how many people I know have gotten sick from fake stuff. Yeah, Daniel. He's going to veto those retail sales bills for sure. Hey, Little Orange on Twitter in Arizona. Hey, Zach in Michigan. So, hey, Emily. Emily is in Virginia and is talking about Governor Youngkin, who intends to veto the adult use retail measures that were just sent to him by the legislature. Emily, there's an action alert for that legislation. Hold on, let me grab it for you. Now, you can find this action alert on Virginia NORML's page. You can, Facebook or on the web. You can find, here's one, is this one? You can find it in the NORML Take Action Center as well at norml.org/act, as well as action alerts for legislation that's pending all around the country. But Emily, I am dropping that link in the chat for you So you can send this email to Governor Youngkin. You can change everything that's in it, but use that link to send it to him. Let him know what you think. Chris is in South Africa. Wow. Chris says 100. Chris J is NORML South Africa, and Chris says 100 years of prohibition since the 19th of February 1925, when cannabis was outlawed in Brussels, and we are still fighting for this plant. True that. Hey, Insulin, welcome back, friend. Again, with some comments about Virginia. It's an election year, November 5th, so hopefully we can vote Youngkin out. I mean, he's done regardless, but there will be 2 choices on your ballot for governor in Virginia. One of them is someone who will sign an adult use retail sales measure, and the other one is someone who will not. So choose wisely, Virginia. Hey, Scott. Gerald, thanks for joining when you were 18. I hope you're getting our emails. If not, sign up right now at norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you're getting our emails, and you'll hear from us all the time. Hey, Josh in Pennsylvania. Josh says, Pennsylvania here. Hopefully something gets done on cannabis reform and DUI laws for medical patients. Yep. Let's see what we have. Oh, okay. I don't have anything pending in Pennsylvania just yet. You know, all eyes are kind of on Pennsylvania. Not kind of. All eyes have been on Pennsylvania for some time. For 2025 as a potential legalization state. Hawaii already dropped the ball on that. They were in that as well. Emily, thank you for contacting the governor, and we won't stop. Please, you don't stop either. Hey, Andy, I see your comment. Yep. I love all your comments. Hey, I am going to check out some of the comments over here on Instagram. Green Health, I know you're in Virginia. Oh. All right. Hey, Peaches, I can't recall what state you're in. I know California. I don't know why it's so hard to get a license in California because we're not an industry association, but California NORML might have some insights for you on that one. Hey, Ty. See you. Hey, Rolando in Ashburn. Hey, Something Green in Eastern Shore. Something Green, I see your question. This is about Virginia. Something Green asked, are they even going to pave a way for small farmers to get in this industry? Yes, that is absolutely something that's not only included in the clunky legislation that was approved this year in Virginia, but you can expect to see a much better, more refined version of that in the 2026 legislation as well. That's a real priority for everyone in the legislature to ensure that there are tiered levels so that it's attainable at the smaller operator level. Peaches, can I tell you who to contact? I wish I knew California NORML's email off the top of my head, but there are a lot of them. Not California NORMLs. There are a lot of chapters and a lot of emails. But yes, you can go to their website, canorml.org. I can see that on their website, and they have a contact form as well. I don't see their don't see their email right away. And I'm not going to open anything else and make this crash. So go to canormal.org and email them that way. Or you can email me at chapters@normal.org. Hey, Charlene in Texas. Something green. What should you do to prepare? Have a good business plan. Have the investment that you need. Have a good business plan. Have real estate in mind. Have good business partners. Rolando, Rolando, are you talking about the action alert? I'm sorry, I cannot. I mean, I could post it on Instagram, but it wouldn't. You can't click it. So if you're on Instagram and you want to find any of the action alerts we'll be talking about during today's show, you can find all of those on the NORML website. You're going to go to normal.org/act. Or if you're on the front page of the NORML website, you're going to click the Take Action tab. It'll take you to this map, and you can hover over the state that you want, select it, and then you'll see all of the action alerts that are pending for that state. Thanks, Rolando, and thank you for sending that action alert. Yeah, yes, Peaches, Dale and Ellen. Dale Garinger is the ED, and Ellen Comp is the DD for California NORML. They're great. They're very involved out there, but use the contact form on their website. And if you have difficulty, just send me an email. Okay, let's catch up with some of these other comments over on Facebook. Scott asks, is there any chance that adult use retail sales is this, that's what we're talking about in Virginia. Adult use, like possession, personal cultivation, consumption, all of that is legal. There's just not retail yet in Virginia. Is there any chance that that will get legalized in Virginia? The next opportunity we will have to do so will be in the 2026 General Assembly. And the way for that to happen is for Virginians to elect a governor who will sign the bill instead of the guy they have in office right now, who for the past 4 years has opposed any effort to legalize retail sales. So yes, there is a strong potential for doing so, but remember, all of Virginians need to get to the polls in November and elect a governor who will sign that bill into law. Because not everyone is like Gerald, who is a Republican and a NORML supporter. It's one thing for voters to, it's one thing to have a policy position as a voter. It's another thing to have a policy position once you are elected and in office. Oftentimes I can name a handful of Republicans right now in the Virginia legislature who are very supportive of adult use, but they are not going to burn their political capital voting on a bill they know is getting vetoed. So, Scott, where else are we streaming? We are streaming on Facebook, on NORML and Virginia NORML, on Instagram, on NORML and Virginia NORML, on Twitter, on NORML's Twitter, on NORML's LinkedIn, and NORML's YouTube. Oh, I could have just looked right up here at the top of my screen. Hey, John in Cleveland. Hey, Shane in Appalachia. Hey, Matt. How are we looking in Pennsylvania? It's a steep climb. Hey, Fred. I'm sorry that you're sick in bed this Friday. John, I don't have anything to report back on Ohio at the moment. But that action alert that we were talking about last week, John, I'm looking at it right now. And let me tell you this is the action alert that says respect the will of the voters and leave issue 2 alone. Those of you who don't know, in Ohio, there's been legislation filed by Republicans trying to roll back a number of provisions in the legalization law that were enacted by voters, by ballot measure in Ohio. So they did the same thing last year, literally just days after 57% of voters approved legalization. Republican lawmakers introduced legislation in 23 to significantly scale back the law, and that failed because thousands of you took action. They're back at it. They're trying again. This bill is a slap in the face to millions of Ohioans who voted in favor of issue 2. So far, 14,794 of you have taken action using the NORML action alert and have sent constituent emails to your lawmakers saying hands off issue 2. So that's what I can tell you about that right now. Hey Wolf, I see your question. Thanks for being a member of NORML and appreciate that. How do we explain the relationship between okay. It's not to your question. I'll show your question. So Wolf is asking about the conflict between state and federal law when it comes to cannabis. And it is not just adult use. It applies to medical programs as well. Every state that is regulating cannabis, that has legalized cannabis, is in conflict with federal law. Every single one, whether it's for adult use or medical. Every single one. Julian, I see your question. Julian says, I have a question about the 2020 hash oil bill. Julian, which state? Tell me more. Do you mean Virginia? I see more of your comments down here. What was the intent for classifying hash oil as marijuana? In 2020, I'm just going to assume you're talking about Virginia because that's the only one I know about, but tell me if it's another one. In 2020, Virginia passed decriminalization, so fines, not crimes. And when we were doing that, I was really, me personally, super annoyed that we had a definition in code which was really antiquated from a law standpoint. Hashish, and it just meant anything that wasn't green flower. So anything that wasn't cannabis flower was hashish and was a felony and had all these really ridiculous penalties with it. And so the easiest way to get rid of that was just to strike hashish from code, and so we did. So it's not a thing. It's just marijuana. I hope that's what we were talking about. Matt says, I appreciate the honesty. You're welcome. That's what we're here for, is try to demystify the political process that we're working through to undo the harms of prohibition. Hey Barn on Instagram says, asks how do I feel about Tennessee going full legalization? I don't. Tennessee has not yet enacted a meaningful medical cannabis program, and so that's something that Tennessee should be working toward. But again, your problem in Tennessee is that you've elected a clown show of legislators. Ellery, yes, we're going to talk about Idaho in a minute. Yeah, Idaho, super wacky. We're going to talk about that. Definitely. Something Green. Tell me what you. Something Green says. I wish I was or could be part of writing the bill. There should definitely be a sold in Virginia, grown in Virginia law. Yeah, that is how it works. First, yes, that's it. That's how it works everywhere in the country. It is in every state. There is a state not every state, but every state that regulates cannabis has its own regulatory model. It is not permissible to bring in product from other states into your state. You have to grow it there. So everything you're buying in a regulated marketplace in Virginia, meaning at this point a medical cannabis dispensary, is being grown in Virginia. Everything you buy in Maryland, in their regulated marketplace, is being grown in Maryland. Get what I'm saying? Everything you buy in Florida that's in Florida's medical cannabis program is grown in Florida. Correct. Orlando says, wait, so if you see cookies in Maryland, it's not California. Correct. 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 Thank you, Julian, for answering that question. That was a big move we pulled off with Eben and Herring. I mean, it's what we do. Chris, I was thinking about this question earlier today before I came to the office. Chris asks, big question, JM. The whole world is wondering, what do you think Trump version 2 will decide on federal legalization? That should help a lot of conservative states and help the current cannabis businesses. It doesn't really matter. Well, okay. The way the government is supposed to work, it wouldn't matter, because in order for federal prohibition to end in the United States, that requires an act of Congress. Congress will have to pass legislation that removes marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act. And then that bill would have to go to the president, and then the president would have to sign it for it to become law. There's not a Congress. We have not elected a Congress that will end federal prohibition. Now, is Trump going to suddenly decide that ending prohibition is his pet project and direct his minions in Congress to take that action? I mean, we don't have any signs pointing to that, but we have a lot of really big issues when it comes to the federal government right now. So, hey, just like all of us here in America, Chris, stay tuned. Get the popcorn. Let's find out together. Hey, Rolando, I see your question. Rolando is asking about cannabis brands and how they differ in how they're the same brand, but they're produced uniquely in each state. Rolando says this. So realistically, how similar is the weed that you get for the weed that you get? For example, do they use the same formula? Yes. So these are typically done. This is done through licensing agreements. So there are products. Let's use Virginia as an example because it's easy for me. There are products that are sold in Virginia. That are sold in other parts of the country as well. I think Bebo is one of the newer brands to enter the Virginia marketplace, and the company that produces the Bebo brands in Virginia does so through a licensing agreement. So they say, here is how you make it, here is how you grow it, here is, whether it's flower or an edible or whatever. And then they do that. And that's all around the country. Hello, Distent. I see that you're saying Verano. Does that mean you work for Verano, or you're just excited that Verano's here? Okay. Hey. Oh. Scott's saying hello to Reston, Herndon, and Oakton friends. Yes, yes, Wolf. And that is a valid point. Back to the conversation we were having earlier about states' adult use and medical programs being in conflict with federal law. Wolf says, but medical enjoys budgetary protection, which adult use does not. That is absolutely true. And there are, as I'm sure you're aware, attempts every budget to strike the word medical so that it then applies to just any regulated program that a state might have enacted. In the US right now, the federal government, under the last budget, the federal government, the Department of Justice specifically, is prohibited from spending any money to take action against medical cannabis programs or participants in states that essentially have it under control. Now, you'll recall, Wolf, that the Cole memo was in effect prior to Jeff Sessions rescinding it during the first Trump administration. And that essentially said, hey, take a hands-off approach to states that are regulating cannabis for adult use as well, as long as they're doing it right. You know, they don't have problems. Hey, Design Studios, thanks for following us. Appreciate it. Thank you for that question. Distent Ain't for Campin' asks, why does our medical program outsource cannabis from Verano instead of growing in Virginia like G-Leaf? They don't. It's the same. Everybody grows here. This and any state, everybody grows there. The brand name is just the brand name. Verano happened to acquire an existing operator, which happens all around the country. He came over from Facebook. Perfect. Matt says Pennsylvania got to go before Tennessee. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to assume Pennsylvania is going to get adult use together before Tennessee does. Hey, Ryan, happy Friday to you. Yes, Insulin is talking about, okay, no health standards across the board in dried flower or testing as far as I'm aware, says Insulin, and you are talking about just across the US, right? It does vary state to state. Some states have really strict consumer safety standards like Virginia. Some states don't even require their products to be tested by third-party analytical laboratories, which is disgusting. We are on YouTube, Scott. You can find YouTube. Well, you found us on, I see you found us on Instagram, but we're on YouTube also. I know, Insulin. I like your comment. It's very comical. That's what I was alluding to. Who knows what's going to happen, but Julian, I wish I could copy your comment and see that, but it won't let me. Okay. Yes. In some states, patients don't pay taxes on medical products. In Virginia, there's no tax on medical cannabis. Ryan, Verano is medical cannabis, is a cannabis company. Hey, David. David asked, is there a state with a medical program that allows for remuneration between caregiver and patient? I don't know. Let's ask someone in like Maine, California, Colorado, I think are some big caregiver states, maybe Michigan as well. If you're watching and you're in one of those states, let us know what you think. Pro tip, if you're asking me a question about something, put the state in it every time, because it's really difficult for me remember what state you're in. So to this, hey Billy. Billy says, what kind of legal limits do we have on advertising cannabis and legalization? There are restrictions on advertising in every state, and they vary state to state. And then, what do you mean about legalization? Tell me more. Tell me more. Small scale person. Okay, thank you, David. Yeah, David, I think that when it comes to, like caregivers cultivating for patients, it's kind of an outdated model. We do see it in the West, out West more, but if someone's in California or Colorado or Michigan, I think Maine has something like that as well. Let us know what you think. Design 5 Studios asks if Virginia requires testing on medical cannabis. Absolutely. Significant testing. Yes. Very stringent. You're welcome. Ellery, I see your question. Ellery says, fun question. Which will be the last state to legalize? And I think you and I both think it's Idaho. Let me see if I can catch up on some of your questions here. Oh, I love this question. That was an eyeful. Okay, Sip says, what is your opinion on THCA? What's my opinion on it? It's a cannabinoid. THCA is how THC is present in the flower. And it's when the plant's growing, the THC that's in the plant is THCA. It's in its acid form. CBD, by the way, is the same way. It's present in its acid form. In order for THCA to turn into THC, it has to be decarboxylated. This can a little tiny bit happens through the drying process, the curing process, but it's not significant. The decarboxylation process really happens when it's heated. So when you see flower that's called THCA flower, that's called weed. And people think that if you just call it that, then that creates some magical loophole. Whatever, it's weed. Julian, I am glad that striking hashish benefited you. That was the point. Yes, Dennis, North Carolina is in fact still going at a snail's pace. Yeah, so what's his face says, can't imagine any state would allow that and essentially forgo the tax they stand to make. Do you mean about not taxing products? We don't tax medical cannabis in Virginia. Also, Ellery, I would like you to know that insulin agrees. Idaho. Yes, that is correct. Yes, SIP says in North Carolina they're selling weed everywhere and just marketing it as THCA. That's the grift. John, that's a good one. John thinks Indiana goes last. The difference is Indiana has some type of medical allowance. Sort of. They had an affirmative defense measure, but now now CBD is more usable in Indiana. But they have a really good NORML chapter there. But both of those states have election problems. Like you are electing terrible members to represent you. So Ryan, you're asking about the metabolite. So THCA gets heated up, turns into THC. When your body metabolizes THC into a metabolite, and that's what you're talking about right there. Oh, thank you, what's his face. I appreciate you clarifying that about small scale remuneration. Yeah. I don't know, Wolf, if Nebraska will be last. Nebraska at least has. Doesn't Nebraska have a ballot process? I love how people are letting me know that I'm correct. Yeah, I know. But thanks for the high five. S. Clay says, how many states allow medical patients to purchase as medical when visiting other states? I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I can tell you where to find that information. There's a website for that. It's called NORML.org. I have updated through L. I can tell you that. If you're going alphabetically in the states with medical cannabis programs, you can find those on the NORML website. Just go to the state laws page and then click on medical. There's a reciprocity section, and I have updated this year. I have updated through L. I'm going to get hopefully the remaining up next week, but it'll tell you if the state has reciprocity. And when there is reciprocity, it's not necessarily for every state, because what they look at is what kind of documentation does this state provide their patients, and will that documentation work with our program? Yes, Billy, Steve Dillon is still involved with Indiana NORML. He is still very much involved with NORML. I got an email from him today. He is a member of the NORML legal committee, all around amazing dude. Dave, we're never getting to the news. We're just going to answer questions today, and I love it. Yes, Sammy, Wyoming does need to get with the times. At least you have some kind of medical program there. Design, I don't know if that's a joke or not. Okay, David says, any thoughts on Virginia's delegate, Will Moorfield? Yes, Will's a great guy. Yes, he was the only... No, he was not the only delegate to support an adult use retail sales bill this year. He's not going to carry it next year. But if we had a Democratic governor next year, he would. I mean, he's already voted for it, so he'd vote for it again. But Keith Hodgins voted for it as well. And then in the Senate, we've had Senator Jordan has voted for measures before as well. I am not an encyclopedia, but thanks, Chris. I don't know about next year for Nebraska, but Nebraska, I'm pretty certain they have a ballot process. Didn't we just have some Nebraska ballot measures? My eyes twitching. Yes, Nebraska does have a ballot process because they approved two separate cannabis, medical cannabis ballot measures this year. Well, 2024, whatever year we're in. Time is a construct. SIP, it depends. So SIP says new, I don't want to call them that. New stores are opening up all the time out here, just selling everything as THCA. Do I think they will eventually shut this down, or is this just the back door to eventual legalization? It's not a back door to legalization. It's a legalization is already the law of the land in Virginia. It's a back door to ripping off consumers is what it is. What are you buying? Who knows? You know, people call us when they buy products and then have really adverse reactions to them. It happens far more frequently than I'd like not to admit that I'd like. I don't want that to happen to, we don't want that to happen to consumers. And, you know, you don't know what's in those products. That's the problem. And I don't, that, you know, like the Farm Bill loophole, like, I don't know if that's really a thing. People think that that's a thing. And the states are taking action to tighten up their laws where they feel that the previous Agriculture Improvement Act left them vulnerable to predatory retailers like this. Idaho is the caboose when it comes to legalizing marijuana, says John. Yeah. All right. Let's read some news. I really want to get to the Idaho thing. Also, I want to see this comment right here. It's cut off. Design, I know you're making a joke now. You're I see your joke. There's a hempitecture built factory in Idaho. They make hemp-based construction materials. That is kind of ironic. Ryan's talking about Virginia says they should have attached retail sales of cannabis when they legalized personal use and personal grow. That is how the bill was constructed, Ryan. I assure you, as chair of the Legal and Regulatory Subcommittee for that legislation, it certainly was included in there. However, this was our first virtual session, and members of the Senate that were right there in the Science Museum, they met in the Science Museum, pandemic, they decided that they would put a reenactment clause on that, and they would pass everything but the retail sales component. And that was a big fat FAFO for Virginia Democrats who thought there was some political expediency in kicking that can down the road, that somehow maybe it would be a great idea to have a non-binding voter referendum on legalization after legalization had already been enacted, and that somehow having this non-binding voter referendum on the ballot was going to turn out voters. Okay, that referendum did not happen. It wouldn't have worked anyhow, and because that's not what drives people to the polls to vote. It's when legalization is on the ballot. And Democrats lost the House and the administration in that subsequent election and came back to 4 years of no movement. So should have just passed the whole thing all at once. Shouldn't you? All right. Yes, Matt, if you don't want, so Act Blue is just Matt is asking this question. Matt says, is there a way to sign up to join NORML that doesn't include sending money to Act Blue? So sure, if you want to use PayPal, you can do that. But the reason why we use Act Blue is because they have pledged not to drop us. And they're just our payment processor. And we've had that happen with every previous payment processor has dropped us. But if you want to join NORML through PayPal, go to norml.org/PayPal. norml.org/PayPal. And then maybe like forward me your receipt afterward so that I know that you did that. Because I don't know that I'm going to get an automatic alert for that. I should, but just in case, you can just send it to me at membership@norml.org. You're welcome, Matt. Hi, Luis. How can you become a partner? What do you mean? How can you join NORML? You can go to norml.org/join. How can you start a chapter? You can go to norml.org/chapters. And if you want to advertise, you can go to norml.org/advertise. Those are the things I can think of to tell you right now. But Design asked on Instagram, want to know what my go-to is for strains. I hate that word. So my favorite kind of cannabis is legal cannabis. You're welcome. All right, now that it's almost 5, let's do some news real quick, like here, friends, because here we go. Come back. We'll do the Idaho one first, since we've already had some conversation about that. John. I love it. Okay, so disgustingly, this week, Idaho lawmakers sent the governor legislation, like the Idaho legislature approved and sent to the governor legislation that would impose mandatory minimum penalties for low-level marijuana possession. This legislation would make it a mandatory $300 fine for anyone 18 or older who possesses cannabis. What are you doing, Idaho? That's the wrong direction, my friends. The rest of the country is not doing weird shit like that. What are you doing? I'm going to read you what Paul says. Paul Armentano is the deputy director of NORML. And Paul says, currently judges may use their discretion when determining whether it is appropriate to impose fines upon violators. Passage of this bill removes this discretion and mandates judges to impose a fine of not less than $300, even in instances where they believe that such a punishment is inappropriate. House Bill 7 is mean-spirited, and its one-size-fits-all approach is inconsistent with our long-standing principles of justice and fairness. A similar legislative effort failed last year, but that's what's going on in Idaho. Now, you can send a message to the governor saying, no, 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 thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Hey, Idaho, only 151 letters have been sent. What are you doing, Idaho? Are you in Idaho? Please share this action alert with your friends. So I just put it in the comments. Hey, Christopher. But it won't show up for you on Instagram. But if you're on Instagram, just go to norml.org/act, click on Idaho. Action alert is right there. So as Elle already says, and that's not including probation fees, correct? Yeah. Whoo! Huh. Okay. Someone on Facebook help Brian out there with that. Let's not say that. Thank you for sending those letters, Ellery. I hope you are sharing it with other people as well. It's on the Idaho NORML Facebook page also. Let's see, what else happened? Let's do all the state stuff first. In better state news, South Dakota. Lawmakers there narrowly rejected a bill that was trying to repeal medical cannabis access. The fact that it was narrowly rejected is cringe, so cringe. House Bill 1101. Now, this medical cannabis was enacted in South Dakota, well, approved in South Dakota by voters in 2020. So the program serves about 13,000 patients. Despite the popularity of this program, legislation introduced by Republican lawmakers, specifically Travis Ismay and 5 of his colleagues, sought to repeal it entirely. This absolute clown show calls the law a travesty and alleges, quote, the people of South Dakota had this crammed down their throat. Do they only have one throat in South Dakota? If anyone knew what this law actually said, they would never have voted for this. So he also thinks you're stupid in South Dakota. Got it. I understand. You can't read? Is that what you're saying? Representative thinks that people in South Dakota can't read what they voted for. Cool. Anyhow, we strongly opposed that legislation. And on Tuesday, committee members voted to table it by a vote of 7-6. Pay attention, South Dakota. Yikes. Don't let people get away with that stuff there. Thank you, Chris. I see your comment about having donated by PayPal. Yes, just email it to me. I mean, I can go look also, but it's better if you email it. Okay, hi. Okay. Be jamming. I see your comment, but I'm not gonna display it because it's personal job and health information, but I am gonna try to respond to it. You got sent home from work. Email me at info@virginianormal.org. Spelled out. info@virginianormal, Virginia, NORML.org. Email me so I can connect you with, this is happening to other firefighters as well. So I said firefighters. Oh, okay, yes, fire department. I don't know what Prince William County is thinking, but if it is in relation to medical cannabis, that's not, they can't take that, they cannot take adverse employment action against you for medical cannabis use. Okay. Yeah, email me if you think you need help with that. I like this comment. Gerd says, been doing some research, and apparently the first recreational use in the States was only by Mexican people, so nobody was smoking marijuana before that. Only Mexicans brought it here. Weird, when it was already sold in pharmacies, right? Right. Thanks, Ellery. I'm glad you were here. Yeah, not only has, I can show this, we've had the drug policy change in Prince William. Not only may it have been changed at the municipal level, but it is law. It is state law. We changed that last year. So if they're not complying with state law, then you know what happens. Someone gets sued. Anyhow, so we did Idaho, we did South Dakota. Let's talk about, huh? Bob, I don't know what question you're asking. How people can become a member? Yeah, you can become a member by joining. You go to normal.org/join. I think I've said that 100 times. Colorado Springs. So we've been talking about Colorado Springs for, well, since November, or probably before that. But in November, they had 2 ballot questions in Colorado Springs that were about adult use retail. So there are some localities in Colorado that do not permit, well, in other states as well, but in Colorado, there are municipalities that do not permit adult use dispensaries. They have medical dispensaries, but not adult use. And so they put 2 questions before the voters in Colorado Springs. One was to permit adult use dispensaries, and then the other one was like to prohibit it forever. And voters were like, no, we want adult use dispensaries in Colorado Springs. And so the election happens, and that's what the voters decide. And city council says, no, we're not going to do that. That's not how elections work, city council. So this went to court, and a district court judge ruled against the city. And then the state Supreme Court refused to consider any further appeals by the city council. So as a result, licensed dispensaries, and so these are medical cannabis dispensaries, are already licensed and operational in Colorado Springs, but those dispensaries will be able to, once they're properly licensed to do so, will be able to begin selling adult use cannabis products on April 14th. Just in time, Colorado Springs. Thanks, John. Bob, I'm talking about people who join through PayPal. PayPal is not our primary donor platform, but people are welcome to join through PayPal. I don't know, because I haven't received an email notification from PayPal from someone donating. I think I'm not getting those. I think somebody else might be getting those, and then I'm not seeing it. So if you join through PayPal, it would be great if you would forward it so that I'm 100% certain that you did, and then I can just send you a card. Any news on Indiana, Keenan? No, I don't have any Indiana news today. Hey 95 on Instagram. Thank you for being here. What else we got? They did a study and analysis in Minnesota, a report, if you will. Researchers in Minnesota analyzed data from nearly 10,000 pain patients that are enrolled in their medical cannabis program. And the researchers concluded that many patients experience, quote, meaningful reductions in pain following the use of medical cannabis. It says about 50% of them were able to maintain their pain reduction for an additional 4 months after achieving it. Among all pain-related conditions, almost 1/3 of patients experiencing moderate to severe pain at enrollment saw a meaningful reduction in pain symptoms within 4 months of treatment. Most subjects in the study inhaled THC-dominant botanical cannabis. I know, this is surely shocking to all of you. David. David says, when will Doge start to dismantle the DEA? I'm guessing no time soon, considering that Trump tapped Virginia's Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security to be the new head of the DEA. He came from the, look, this guy is like a career drug warrior. He comes from the DEA. But I guess, at least in this one instance, someone with actual government experience has been tapped to lead a government agency. So that seems remarkable for this administration. Can't, Bratty, I can't. Yes, it is. In fact, yes, it is 100% a scam, John. I agree. All right. Here's one. Here's one that's near and no. If you pay, you can be in. If you donate to join, you will be a member. If you donate $42 during the calendar year, you will be a member. I'm simply saying that PayPal is not something people typically use to join normal. And if they do, I don't want it to fall through the cracks. So just the best way to let that not happen is to let me know. I'm also going to check on our PayPal platform next week and make sure that it's sending me alerts that if someone, I haven't seen anything from it lately. Okay, we're going to move on and talk about cancer because that's always a good time. Um, it's not. Cancer patients report less pain and improved sleep following their use of medical cannabis. Shocking, right? The rest of the stories I'm going to tell you about are that flavor. You're like, yeah, tell me more. Thank you, Braddy. Thank you for backing me up, bud. Oh, I know, David. Um, hey, KA. Any change in Virginia's Health Service Area 1 award. Health Service Area 1's license in Virginia, the big top part of the state, was awarded to AIR, and they are moving forward with the process. There have been legal challenges filed. Um, we knew there were going to be legal challenges every time licenses are awarded anywhere in the state. People who don't win file lawsuits, and that's what happened. And multiple lawsuits have been filed. I think what we're looking at right now is consolidation of those multiple lawsuits. That typically happens where there's multiple lawsuits and they get kind of combined into one. I think that's about where they are in the process. But I do know that that the company that has been awarded the license is moving forward as best they can given the amount of litigation. So neat. Oh, all right. We talked about Idaho, South Dakota, Colorado, Minnesota cancer. There's another one that's missing somewhere. I think it's the senior one. Here are two that are very similar. So this analysis looked at adult use dispensaries opening in jurisdictions. And what researchers determined in this analysis is that when localities have adult use dispensaries, they also experience a significant decrease in opioid prescription fills. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We know that. And we also know that so much that here's another one that's very similar. This one is a study that looked at cannabis use in older patients. So older patients being people over 50. Thanks. The use of medical cannabis by patients 50 and older is associated with a reduced need for prescription medication, as well as significant health-related quality of life improvements. The investigators looked at a cohort of over 200 older patients. The average age of these patients was 67. And they primarily suffered from chronic pain-related conditions. And researchers reported that most patients experienced clinically significant improvements in pain, sleep, and quality of life, and reductions in co-medication, including pain medications, antidepressants, and sleep aids. And no serious adverse events were reported. I'm going to fix that typo. That's John says, I'm waiting for them to be excited about the entourage effect. Who are you waiting? Who are you waiting to be excited about that? I think that we have written extensively about that. We tend to write about it. I I think there was a lot of excitement around entourage effect before. And I think we write about it with more specificity now, where if terpenes or something are contributing, or multiple cannabinoids are working synergistically, or with cannabinoid or with terpenes, we'll write about it more specifically and reference the entourage effect. But yeah, I mean, it's not news. It's not breaking news that the entourage effect is a thing. Okay, that's still going. Everything's happening. Bratty, that's hilarious. I'm not going to read it. What's coming up? What do I have to tell you all about? Tomorrow is Saturday. Hi, Ramona. Welcome back. Yes, Kansas still sucks. I'm sorry, people in Kansas. I don't mean you suck. I mean your marijuana laws. NORML's weekend weed read comes out tomorrow. So NORML news of the week comes out on Thursdays at about 4:20 Eastern, because we're funny. And NORML's weekend weed read comes out on Saturdays at about between 9 and 9:15 in the morning, because you want to start off your day reading the news, right? Weekend, gonna kick back, have some coffee, something else, catch up on the news of the week. Hey, I got you. I'm going to send you that tomorrow at like 9 Eastern. All you have to do is subscribe. Go to norml.org/subscribe, or if you're on the front page, it's somewhere up there in the top corner. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so you always get it every Saturday. And you'll get... Brady, you're distracting me. You'll get all of these stories in your inbox tomorrow if you subscribe. Do that. Okay, Brady, as much as I would love to talk about Taylor Swift right now. Oh, but look, the Eagles were her team before her boyfriend was a football dude. So I guess it wasn't a win-win for her, I'm sure. Sure, it was terrible. That was quite a game. Terrible game. Hey, Coco, where else am I live right now? Coco, Live with NORML streams on Facebook. It streams on NORML on Facebook and Virginia NORML on Facebook. It also streams on NORML on Instagram, where you're watching, and Virginia NORML on Instagram. It also streams on NORML's YouTube, on NORML's LinkedIn, and on NORML's Twitter. That's where it is. Okay. Chris, you have a fantastic weekend as well. Thank you for watching. I know, Coco, I wish that the Instagram chat was integrated, but it's not. We use StreamYard, and Instagram, it will stream to Instagram, but I have to look at the comments over on the side. I have to look at it in a separate window entirely, and it's not integrated into the platform. Whereas in StreamYard, I can see Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Sometimes LinkedIn, I can see all of that all in one column. But YouTube and Facebook, they're having their own conversations. Like, they have so many conversations that I have to stop and find the ones that are for me. I love it. You guys are the best. You guys have built a really great community around this, and I love the questions that you ask. Thank you. John would like everyone to know that 2 months from now is 420. I think Easter's on 420 this year. Only green eggs. Let's tell you what else is coming up. Event-wise, I copied it. Let's paste it in here. There we go. Thank you, Coco. All right, the 2025 Kentucky Cannabis Conference and Expo is March 14th and 15th. You should go. Kentucky NORML produces this event. They're fantastic. Go check it out if you're in Kentucky. March 14th and 15th. kynormal.org is their website. You can also find them on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, well, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Those are the ones that are coming to mind right now. And then in July, I know it's a minute away, but yes, exactly, Brady, exactly like that. It's all I can think of every time I have to say that. In July 18th and 19th is the National Cannabis Festival. Tickets are, I just retweeted it. No, TikTok. Not Twitter, TikTok. It was on TikTok last night. I just saw it and I got to look at it again. Tickets go on sale March 4th for the National Cannabis Festival. You can join the wait list now. And if you want to go, you should, because this event does sell out. It is a 2-day event. It will be on the RFK campus again. Not that RFK. The other one. But I'm looking at their website right now. It says celebrate legal weed with 2 days of live music, munchies, exhibitors, and more. Subscribe for 2025 ticket and VIP announcements. So you can head to nationalcannabisfestival.com. You can also find NCF on TikTok under NCF. You can find NCF on Facebook and on Instagram. Oh, Coco, have fun at the Hawaii hemp market tonight. I have been to Hawaii, but not since I was 13. So it's been a minute. Have a beach. Have a blast. And I'm sorry that your lawmakers are crazy. I'm sorry that your lawmakers do not have your best interests. At least you have a medical cannabis program. That's all I can say. Those are all the events. I did it. We did it. Kentucky NORML is on Blue Sky. Thank you, John. NORML is also on Blue Sky. It's a very small crowd on there. I know. WTF is right, Coco. All right, friends. This has been a blast. Brady says, elect clowns, you get a circus. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. There you go. Here you go. You got it. You got it that time. Good job. All right, friends. This has been a blast, but I gotta go do stuff. So we're gonna say goodbye, and hopefully you're gonna like, you're gonna follow, you're gonna subscribe on whatever platform you're watching, so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this show on Fridays at 4 o'clock. Sometimes things happen and we can't do the show and we're all sad together, but most Fridays at 4 o'clock. Meet me right back here and we'll do this all again. I hope you have a great weekend. It has been an absolute blast hanging out with all of you, answering your questions. Make sure you're getting our newsletters so you never miss what's going on with cannabis wherever you are. And hey, everyone. I'm J.M. Padini. I'm the Development Director for NORML, and I will see you right back here next time. Bye-bye.